He stormed into my living room, uninvited and furious, and started pulling art off my walls. "Give them back," he said. "Those are worth $3,000. I stood there, stunned. These were the same paintings he gave me 10 months ago. Paintings he told me he hated. Ugly, he said. Useless. Just clutter. And now, suddenly, they were gold. But let me back up. Almost a year ago, my friend handed me a set of 3 small artwork pieces. He said he didn't want them anymore, that they were hideous. Something about the colors made him gag, and they just weren't his vibe. I thought they were stunning, abstract, but warm, soft and chaotic all at once, like a memory you can't quite place. I didn't just hang them up. I redesigned my entire living room around them. I painted the wall to match their tone, rearranged my shelves, swapped out lighting, even bought a new chair, just to give those paintings the spotlight they deserved. They made my space feel alive, and every time I looked at them, I thought about how sometimes something discarded by one person can become another person's joy. Fast forward. One afternoon, the friend who gave me the art was over at my place. Another friend of mine, someone he'd never met before, was there too. We were just chatting, sipping coffee, the usual. Then that second friend, curious about the pieces, pulled out their phone and used Google Lens to find more like them. They were thinking of buying similar ones for their own space. That's when things took a turn. Google pulled up a match. Not just a similar style, but seemingly the same pieces. Or at least extremely close. And each one was listed at $1,000. I laughed when I heard it. "Wow," I said, "that's insane." I wasn't thinking about selling them. I was just surprised. But the moment that price was spoken aloud, something shifted in the air. The friend who gave me the art went quiet. Then he said, low and sharp, "You need to give them back." I blinked. "What?" "They're worth something," he snapped. "I didn't know that when I gave them to you. I want them back." I thought he was joking, until he got up and walked over and started pulling them off the wall. I stood in his way. "No, you gave them to me. You said you hated them. They've been mine for almost a year." That's when he raised his voice. He demanded I pay him $3,000 or return the art immediately. Said if I didn't, he'd call the police. It was surreal. I looked at my other friend, who was just as stunned. Then we told him to leave. He stormed out, fuming. Later that night, I sat in my living room, the walls suddenly feeling colder. I kept staring at the blank spaces where the paintings had hung. I'd managed to wrestle them back from his hands before he could walk out with them. But the whole moment left a crack in something deeper, my trust. And it didn't stop there. The next day, the other friend, the one who'd looked up the art, messaged me, said they had realized that another item they'd given me years ago was also valuable, and they wanted it back. I was floored. It felt like a tidal wave of entitlement had suddenly crashed through my life. These weren't just things I'd borrowed. They were gifts. Thoughtful, sometimes spontaneous gifts. But now, in light of their apparent monetary value, both friends were demanding them back. The second friend even tried to rewrite history, saying they had lent me the item, not given it, which I knew was a lie. I had the messages from back then. Clear, direct. "It's yours," they'd written. But at that point, I was tired. Tired of the drama. Tired of the gaslighting. Tired of watching people I once trusted twist the past for profit. So I made a choice. I told them both Fine. Come get your things. Every single one of them. I pulled everything they'd ever given me out of drawers, off shelves, from corners of the closet, packed them neatly. And as they collected their things, I smiled. Not out of kindness, but closure. Those two friends, they're just acquaintances now. If I ever see them again, it'll be from a distance. But that wasn't the end. Because here's where it gets strange. Even though I gave everything else back, I held on to those 3 paintings. Why? Because around the same time that friend gave me the artwork, I gave him a couch, a $2,000 couch. He needed it, and I had an extra. It wasn't a trade, but it felt significant now. And I realized if we were going to start retroactively putting price tags on our generosity, then fine. The couch covered the paintings. Still, something about the situation didn't sit right. The value of the art became this looming question. Were they really worth what that app said? So I reached out to someone who could help. Turns out, one of my siblings' friend's girlfriends is an art appraiser. Yeah, weird connection. But I trusted her. She came by, carefully took the pieces, and promised to get back to me. I waited, unsure of what I even wanted to hear. And then came the twist. The pieces weren't originals, not in the way I'd thought. They were recreations, copies of another artist's style, made by someone practicing technique, specifically by the friend's relative. Yes, the same friend who had gifted them to me. His own relative had painted them years ago as a way of copying a popular style for practice. They weren't signed in the front, but on the back, there was a signature, a name, one I recognized. When the appraiser told me the artist's name, I laughed, loud. It was surreal. Because that friend, the one who tried to rip them off the wall, demanded money, threatened police, had been given homemade art by their own family member. And still, they thought it was trash. Until Google told them otherwise. I texted him and said, "Turns out these were made by your relative. Want them back?" He responded immediately. "Nah," he said, "just throw them away." And that, right there, told me everything. He didn't actually care about the art. He didn't even like them. What he cared about was the price tag, the illusion of value. Once that illusion shattered, so did his interest. And yet, somehow, I loved those pieces even more. Not for what they were worth, but for what they revealed. They showed me how quickly people can turn. How money, or the idea of money, can pull a mask off someone's face. They taught me that real gifts are given without expectation, and real friends don't come with strings attached. So now, those 3 pieces hang back on my wall. Quiet, vibrant, and still beautiful. Maybe they're not worth thousands. Maybe they never were. But to me, they're priceless because they mark the exact moment I stopped confusing familiarity with friendship. So, am I the asshole? Was I wrong to keep them? To refuse when they tried to take back what they'd discarded? To draw the line between what was given and what was owed? I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't bargain for value. I simply accepted a gift and made it part of my home. But when value entered the equation, suddenly everything changed. They saw dollar signs. I saw betrayal. So now I ask you, when someone gives you something and then regrets it, are you obligated to rewrite the past? Or are you allowed to stand your ground and keep what was once freely given? I'll let you decide. But I know this. In the end, those paintings told the truth louder than anyone else in the room. Sometimes, The worth of an object isn't measured in dollars, but in the weight it carries after the storm. What starts as a simple gift can become a mirror, reflecting everything someone didn't say, everything they really value. And when that reflection shows greed, or manipulation, or entitlement, we face a choice. We can shrink, apologize, try to make peace with people who never wanted peace in the first place. Or we can step back, protect our peace, and remember that some people only value you when you're useful to them. To the person who shared this story, thank you. You reminded us that art isn't just decoration, it's revelation. And to everyone listening, think about the things you've given and the things you've taken back. Think about the people who expect repayment for their kindness. Are they really giving it all? Tell us what you would have done. Would you have kept the art or returned it and walked away? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've ever had a friendship unravel over something as simple as a gift, you're not alone. This is AITA Stories. Thanks for listening.